Good morning, Mr. Sumant Kumar. Good morning. How are you doing? How is it going? We are early today. Early to bed, early to rise. Makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. And there's another version to this story, by the way. Do you know the another version to this story? It's early to rise, early to bed. Makes a man wise but socially dead. If you can hear me, should we begin? Should we begin the show that we deserve? If you can hear me, say something and we will begin. All good, Nishant. I'm staying in India for 3 months. Oh, good, good. That's so nice. Where are you staying in these 3 months? These are very good months if you're in Delhi because October, November, December, beautiful months to be in Delhi. Great weather. Though the air gets bad, but great weather indeed. Uh, if you can hear me, should we begin? Andhra Pradesh. Oh, that's a very beautiful place. I guess you can hear me. So if we're ready, we should begin, right? The show that we deserve. What do you think? Makes everything worth it, right? Yes. So we are ready, and which means we will begin. Bum 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Thinker's Frequency. We are having such a good time. This is the peak of human civilization. We are working so hard, doing such good work for ourselves, our parents, our kids, our siblings, our husbands, our wives, our friends, everybody. Well, not other people's husbands and wives, I hope. And just when we thought things couldn't get any better, like they couldn't possibly get any better, well, they just did. Call it divine intervention, folks, but things just got a whole lot better. Now we have Thinker's Frequency, our daily mental workout, our daily dose of insights and analysis which don't lead to paralysis right before we punch in. So let's continue with our journey of reading between the lines, things that are especially interesting and important in the world of business and finance. Let's go! But before we go, you gotta follow tradition, right? You know the tradition. You know the sweet and sacred tradition of the simultaneous sip. We'll all sip something together and it'll bring us good luck, as it always does, without fail, every day. And all you need for the simultaneous sip is a cup or mug, a glass, a tank, a chalice, a stein, a canteen jug, a flask, or a vessel of any kind. Pour it with your favorite liquid. I like some hot water with black pepper in it. And here we go. Beautiful. Let's do it again. Sublime. You know what the simultaneous sip says, right? You know what it says? It says that you are not alone. It says that we are in this together. It's such a beautiful thing to say. With that out of the way, let's begin. There's a very funny news. A bureaucrat, a babu, essentially, an IAS, if you may, he wrote a book on ethics, integrity, and so on. And then he was caught taking 10 crore bribes. So this guy literally wrote a full ass book on ethics, integrity, and then he also took a 10 crore bribe and he's caught now. So there's gonna be some proceedings, of course. In a related incident, the DEG thing, they found out that the GMP practices were not good manufacturing practices. They were not getting followed by these manufacturers of cough syrups, which led to deaths of children in Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. So their tankers were rusted. Instead of importing glycerine, they were importing diethylene glycol. And those cough syrups were leading to renal failures, which was leading to kids' deaths. I mean, 40 kids have died, right, in Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. And people found out that wherever this was happening, manufacturing processes were not being taken into consideration. I mean, they were not being followed to T. Now, it is obvious. It is obvious that they were not being followed to T. And this is not the first time that this particular incident had come up. The first time that India actually faced this was 2022, when we were exporting these cough syrups to sub-Saharan African countries and also Eastern European countries. We sent these cough syrups to Gambia, Namibia, Zaire, Uzbekistan, and in some of those countries, kids actually died. So that was 3 years ago. If 3 years ago we had the same problem, and now we have the same problem yet again, but in the domestic market, what does it tell you about the officials that cleared those companies? How did they get those permits? There is an annual review of these companies, their manufacturing facilities. What was happening in that annual review? Well, we know what was happening. Corruption was happening, right? Babus were essentially taking money from these companies and they were just letting things be. They just signed papers by taking bribes, and they just kept the business going. And that's exactly what led to so many deaths of people, first outside India and now in India itself. Now, the question is there going to be anything to these babus? Sure, they're going to be sealing some manufacturing facilities. They have sealed a couple of manufacturing facilities, maybe one. But is there something going to happen to the people who actually greenlit those facilities, right? Because if nothing happens to them, this is going to happen again, right? Which is the story of the country. So the answer is maybe nothing. These people might just get promoted, the babus, and soon enough we'll be waiting for some other kids to be, to get sacrificed for their bribes. Interestingly, I read that something similar happened in China in 2006 or 2008. Okay? The exactly similar case, like diethylene glycol leading to deaths of children and so on and so forth. Like in 3 months, that particular Babu, who was essentially responsible for granting permits to these companies, to these manufacturing units, in 3 months, his court hearings happened, the judgment was given, and he was essentially executed by an injection. So, in 3 months, that's all it took, right? And that is the deterrence China provided in 2006. That's about 20 years ago, right? And since then, there has been no case as far as diethylene glycol related deaths is concerned in this country, in China, of course. But nothing of that sort happens in India, unfortunately, which is exactly why we see so many things happening. So, we talked about El Salvador, we talked about Nayib Bukele, Mr. Bukele, and we talked about how he created a society where good was incentivized and bad was deterred, right? India desperately needs that kind of deterrence. Unfortunately, we don't have any. All of the babus who were responsible for these kids dying, instead of getting tried for murder, they'll get promoted, and that's just the hard fact of life. Moving on, that was just one information. India and UK are looking to doubling the trade in 5 years, says Mr. Modi. He says that currently India and UK's trade relationship stands at $56 billion. They want to do it, lead it to $100 billion within 5 years, and they can do it even before that. So their targets are tight. They say we'll be able to do this even before 2026. 2030. So 56 billion to $100 billion. Moving on. And they are also talking about taking missiles from Britain, a lot of opportunities. They're talking about financial inclusion, how India has been extremely inclusive as far as the UPI related revolution is considered. They say UK has a lot to offer as far as financial inclusion and financial architecture is considered. And the relationship is pretty tight. So they are looking at enforcement of the BTA, the bilateral trade agreement that was signed a couple of months ago, I guess. Yeah, so that's what's going on. TCS has come out with its earnings for Q2, September 2. That's not great at all, but it's not that bad either, right? So if you look at the numbers, if you're interested in numbers, quarter-on-quarter decline in profits has been 5.4%, but that's majorly because of a 1,200 crore one-time severance fee. So some very, very top-shot employee must have left or must have been fired. they paid a severance fee of 1200 crore to that guy or to some people, and that led to decrease of the profit. However, the firm laid off 1% people, 6,000 people. So TCS has 6 lakh people in its fold, right? Right now it's at 5 lakh 93,000. So they fired 6,000 people, 1% in this quarter. Reduced the headcount by 2%. That's okay. So if you look at the revenue numbers, revenue increased 2.4% on year and 3.2% sequentially, right? But it was flat considering the dollar convertible basis, because dollar rose, and since TCS makes a lot of money, basically makes all its money outside India, so it made some improvements in the revenue number, but that was majorly due to forex, changes in the equation. So that's going on with TCS. Viewers of Thinkers Frequency would remember we've talked about how Indian IT is in dire straits. People say they are not in dire straits, they are looking at some temporary problems. But we say that these problems are not temporary, these are systemic, huge problems that are going to hurt the business in ways that nobody can see right now. And that's exactly what's happening. And that can be reflected in the views TCS is taking. So TCS is looking at making an AI data center, like a $6 to $7 billion AI data center. Well, that's interesting because that's going to pit it against all the data center companies, but that's a new line of business. So we've talked a lot about how Indian IT is looking at new lines of businesses, right? Data center is one, the others. What was the other? Do we remember, folks, viewers? What was the other line of business? One was the build, operate, transfer model for the GCCs, which are going to eat their lunch. So they're basically eating their lunch, but till the time they do it, Indian IT is trying to serve the GCCs. What was the new business line that they were trying to come? Oh yeah, the semiconductor play, right? They were trying to get into the semiconductor play, and so on and so forth. So Indian IT, again in stress. TCS numbers are out. Everybody else is going to soon come out with their numbers, and it's not going to be cool. Pivoting to semiconductors, says Mr. Sumant Kumar, which is right. Mr. Tushar Tiwari says project-based billing, not HR-based. Yeah, the outcome-based they call it, right? The outcome-based instead of time and material. So a lot of things that are happening, but they're looking at new business lines, like data center is a new play. Moving on, ID Fresh is a Bangalore-based, food company, essentially. Bangalore-based food company. It's in fast food, idli, sambar, packaged food business. All right. They're looking at 1,200 crores to raise. They're looking at some sort of secondary transactions, right? For 1,200 crores. In talks with Carlyle, Kedara, Chris Cap, and so on to raise about 1,200 crore, not secondary, but 1,200 crore. Some of it is secondary because the existing investors don't really want to sell a lot. So some of it is secondary. 1,200 crore at a valuation of 4 to 5,000 crores. Now, ID Fresh getting valued at 4 to 5,000 crores is a pretty interesting play, right? 4 to 5,000 crores. What is the revenue of the company? The revenue of the company is 563 crores in March 24. So a year prior, FY24, they made 563 crores. Let's say they grew at 20%, right? Let's say they had a revenue of about 700 crores. Very, very optimistic. But let's say 700 crores was the revenue. If the company has a revenue of 700 crore and it's getting valued at 5,000 crores, it's basically looking at a revenue multiple of 7, right? And the company is not doing a revenue of 700 crores, but at least 7, right? If the company grew, let's say 10%, then maybe it's doing some 600 crore revenue. In that case, it's going to be 8. When the profit was just 1.8 crores. So the company is not really making a lot of money, but the company must be growing well. But 8 for an FMCG fast food kind of, not a fast food, but FMCG play, consumer packaged food, 8 revenue multiple. That is huge. That is huge, right? But that's not unusual. What was Haldiram's revenue multiple? Haldiram did a business of what? $1 billion, and then was looking at $8 to $10 billion worth of valuation, right? So maybe it is the standard for a packaged food company. At the same time, the fast food industry is not valued with these multiples. Fast food industry gets much lesser, multiples. Theobroma recently got acquired, right? The founding sisters sold their company, and what was the revenue multiple of Theobroma? Some 3x, 4x, about that, 3 to 5. So that's what's happening with ID Fresh. Moving on, Bira, the VC funded beer company. Well, you got to be, kidding. I mean, why would VCs fund a beer company? Why would anybody, venture capitalists, all people, why would they fund a beer company? What problem is beer solving? Because VC startup talk is basically about solving problems. Okay. So what problem are you solving? So when you talk to a VC, it's going to be like, what problem are you solving? So what is this problem that you're solving? And so on and so forth. Like, what problem is a beer company solving? Another beer company, right? Probably nobody asked that question to Bira. They ended up raising a lot of money and then losing a lot of money. They lost like 740 crores in the last fiscal year itself. It's AI-enabled beer, says Mr. Tiwari. Not, I hope so. But the point is, the Bira as a company has really faltered a lot. It's lost a lot of money, thousands and thousands of crores, right? And right now, its employees have cobbled together and they've written a letter to all the investors saying that they want the founder out because of corporate governance's lapses and so on and so forth. So they say that they've not been paid for 6 months. Their salaries are due, their dues are due, vendor payments are due, and so on and so on and so on. So they're saying that this founder has ruined the company and they want him out. They're writing letters to, these people. Now, the founding team, founding guy, Mr. Ankur Jain, right? He's the founder of Bira. The board has Mr. Ankur Jain, his mother, and his wife on the board. And then there are other people. And he also has 17.6% or something in the company. So he's clearly not going away. And he says that, we face problems. So you know what happened with Bira? A very interesting case happened with Bira. They were looking at maybe IPO, was it? But they essentially changed the name of the company. Okay, probably for IPO from private company to a public listed company. So they changed the name of the company. If I'm not wrong, if I'm not meddling facts, I hope I'm not. I think I'm not. But point is that they changed the name of the company, and since they changed the name of the company, all the beer that they had, in the market, that became illegal to sell. That basically became illegal to sell. It was one of the most interesting case studies ever. So they changed the name, maybe to get listed, but whatever inventory in the market they had, that basically had to be cancelled, right? So hundreds and hundreds of crores of inventory essentially became dead inventory because it could not be sold according to the legal systems of the country, right? Because the company's name was different from what was printed on the label. So then it led to a lot of hundreds of crores of inventory losses. Then those losses piled up. Then, since all of those losses piled up, they couldn't make new inventory, and then cash flow got ruined, and then employees couldn't get paid, and the vendors couldn't get paid, and so on and so on and so on. So that was Bira. But if you look at Bira, right? So hear this out. VCs funded Bira. Okay. Now Bira sold beers to you guys. I don't drink, so I didn't get any benefit of it. But hopefully you did. So Bira sold its beers to you guys. But Bira made a loss on those beers. So essentially, VCs paid for the losses of the beers that were sold to you by Bira. So essentially, VCs paid for your beers. Since Bira sold all those beers at a loss, and that loss was paid for by VCs. VCs paid for your beer. So VCs bought a beer for you. How was that? How was that? It happened. It happened. So anyway, so that's what's going on with Bira. A lot of employees are coming together, writing to investors that we want the founder out. Let's see what happens. A lot of IPOs have happened. LG, everything, Tata Capital, right? WeWork, and these IPOs raised 30,000 crores last week. But the IPO is still the market is still very very hot. A lot of people are looking at an IPO. Grow is going IPO, 7,000 crores. I did not know Mr. Satya Nadella was an investor at Grow, right? But he is, and he's exiting some of the. He's cashing out, so that's good. Grow is looking at a $7 billion valuation, about 70,000 crores, right? 8 billion dollar valuation, 70,000 crores. Out of the 7,000 crores they're gonna raise, 1,000 is gonna be primary capital, which is gonna go into the company. Rest 6,000 crores is just gonna be fixed as the secondary transactions. The existing investors are gonna cash out. So that's what's going on. Mr. Tiwari says capitalism is the ultimate form of socialism in the case of Bira. Well said, Mr. Tiwari. Well said. Capitalism did become socialism when it came to venture capital in India, right? So all the venture capital companies, most of them essentially ran an Amir Kalyan Yojana, Mahatma Gandhi Amir Kalyan Yojana. So they kept funding startups, which then gave discounts to users, right? And often at negative gross margins. So all those discounts people got, they were because of Amir Kalyan Yojana. So a lot of people just benefited because people were selling things at a loss. Even now, quick commerce platforms are making huge losses. So that's essentially Pradhan Mantri Amir Kalyan Yojana playing out. It's a very good welfare scheme, but for the rich. Moving on, Mr. Jash Solanki asks, Sir, it's my first time in your life. Is there a specific topic you all discuss? Yeah, we discuss business and finance, daily discussions on business and finance, mostly business, finance, economics, a bit of geopolitics, but yeah, that's what we discuss. I hope you're liking what you're hearing. Moving on. India essentially came out, RBI wanted to have faster clearances of checks, right? So checks right now take a lot of time to get cleared, which is not cool. So what RBI wanted to do was same day clearance for checks, but lack of training of banking officials and lack of readiness as far as technology is considered didn't lead to these outcomes. So glitches mar new check clearance system. But that always happens, right? That always happens. Glitches sometimes take good moves, they make them slow down, but that's okay. That's okay. Silver is going up. Silver, gold, silver ETF rush takes market by a storm. So silver ETF has taken everything. The results are phenomenal. Gold and silver is just clicking it. You know what it means, right? You know what it means. We've talked about it. Viewers of Thinkers Frequency know what a rising gold and rising silver mean. For the economy from a global perspective, it means bad news. It means that there's something which is going wrong in the system, and the system is gonna unravel in ways that nobody can understand, but it's gonna happen. Mr. Ray Dalio, the Bridgewater Associates founder, he's been talking about an imminent depression, not just recession, depression in the US economy. He's been talking about it. According to him, it should have already happened. 2024, mid 2025, it should have happened. We are at the end of the 2025, but nothing has happened yet. So maybe he's early, or maybe he's just wrong. Nobody knows. But people are warning that there could be a crash in the entire financial play. Something like a 2007, but much bigger. So good time to hold gold and silver, right? Be very careful. I hope nothing happens, but if it does, you got to be prepared, right? Moving on. By the way, US markets have fallen. US markets have fallen. They continued their fall, right? Now, my question is, it's linked to something that happen very soon. Do you know why US markets have fallen? We've talked about this. I told you that this was going to happen, and I said this is very interesting. We had, uh, let me, shut down government. No, 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 not the shutdown. It's something related to an East Asian country, let's say, an Asian country, and how its markets, AI dependent growth. No, that's still happening, Mr. Tiwari, Mr. Solanki. Not shut down, not AI dependent growth. What is that one thing? East Asian country, something related to their, you know, if I give it away, okay, I should give it away. Japanese yields, right? So Japanese yields went up, and I told you where that Japanese money went, right? So Japanese have been running at a zero interest rate play for a very long time, and then it changed. So what used to happen was that people used to borrow in yen, swap the currency, invest in other markets, then take the gains and then return the money in yen because the interest rates were zero. Now, when the interest rates go up, uh, you have to return more money to the Japanese, which means it cuts your, you know, investment potential, or let's say gains here. If it does that here and you start making losses, it causes panic. So what happens is that you have to cut short your position so you can pay more money back to, you know, the new yields, so to speak. So even though those things don't pan out so quickly, when a change like that happens in the yield market, right, in the Japanese yen market, it leads to global ripple effects, because that's what's happening in Japan, right? So zero interest rates, you get money at zero interest rates. What do? You take that money out, invest where somewhere you can get good growth. You get your growth, you get 7% return, 12% return, 15% return, and then when it comes time to maturity of this particular debt that you had taken, you pair some of your holdings, return the money, and everybody is happy. But suddenly, if this person raises the interest, right, you have to return more money. That means the 15% you were making here, it becomes 12%, right? Because the yield, it went up to 3.3% or something of that sort. So that's called, now that causes trouble, right? That causes great trouble, and that's what's happening. It's beginning to happen in that direction. Moving on. Mr. Rajnath Singh signs key defense pacts with Australia, reiterates India's stand on terror. Well, we've talked about how Indian defense is basically getting a lot of focus, rightfully so. We've talked about how defense is, if shipbuilding is the mother of all heavy engineering, right? That's the words. Those are the words Mr. Modi used. Shipbuilding is the mother of all heavy engineering. Then let's call defense the father of all heavy engineering. Can we do that? Right? Because these people are very related, right? Defense and the shipbuilding industries, they're extremely related. So the point is that they had like an air-to-air refueling display, and they're talking a lot about defense ties with Australia. Three agreements: information sharing, MOU on submarine search and rescue cooperation, and establishment of joint staff talks. So that's what's going on with Australia. By the way, Army is also working on anti-drone play. Sudarshan Chakra, Project Sudarshan Chakra is getting, given a go-ahead. Project Sudarshan Chakra, made by BEL, Bharat Electronics Limited. So that's what's going on. Saksham, the project is called Saksham, Soft and Hard Kill Asset Management. Soft and Hard Kill Asset Management. So that's what Saksham is. Now, what is that? It's a counter drone intelligence program. Counter drone grid. So 3000 meters, it can jam a particular set of drones. Now, what did I tell you about drone technology? Do you remember drone technology? What did we talk about when we talked about drone technology? Drone technology is like nuclear without a limiting factor. That means that you can keep improving the drone technology, unlike nuclear technology, because once you've made a nuclear bomb, you don't want to make a 30% better nuclear bomb, right? You don't have to do that. because a nuclear bomb is a nuclear bomb. But if you've made a drone, you can just keep improving that drone, keep improving that drone. You can make it more effective, more efficient, more lethal, more, bigger. You can make it smaller, so on and so on and so forth. You can make it cheaper, right? All sorts of things you can keep doing with drones. Why? Because when you increment the drone technology, the counter drone technology also gets incremented, right? And then what's the next thing? The drone has to beat the counter drone technology. Then the counter drone technology has to beat the drone technology, and so on and so on and so on. And the technology just keeps getting better. And that's why we had said that it makes sense for India to instead to focus, or let's say direct their investments away from fighter aircrafts to drone technology, because fighter aircrafts are obsolete. They are yesterday. Drone tech is the future. That is actually the present right now. The war between Russia and Ukraine, it's basically an all drone war, right? But when I wrote that articles, I got a lot of brickbats. But who cares about that? That is the truth. Wait and watch, as we say. We look into the future, right? A lot of political chit chat which we best not discuss. It's just retarded nonsense that happens in politics. Very bad, very intellectually demeaning, discussions when it comes to politics. Anyway, Max Healthcare is planning 5,000 crore expansion. It's basically eyeing a pan-India presence. Pan-India presence. Right now, Max is majorly in North and West. Now it's looking at East and South as well. It's huge. The hospital chain is looking at acquisitions and so on and so forth. He says that India's healthcare needs to be expanding multifold. He says that people are underestimating what Indian healthcare is going to look like, because Indian population is aging, and as a population ages, the healthcare requirements need to go up. So we need more beds. We just need more beds. We need to keep adding more beds. It's a supply constraint market. So some numbers, they're planning to deploy 5,000 crore in the next 3 to 5 years, right? And increasing their bed capacity to 6,500 by the end of FY25, 9,200 by FY28. So they are looking at expanding beds. The person leading Max is Mr. Who is this person? Mr. Soy. His name is Mr. Soy. Sorry about that. So he's a turnaround specialist, and he says that we have a lot of opportunity in healthcare, and he's right, right? The gap between demand and supply is increasing, but where are the beds? Despite expansion plans, this is the scary part, right? So tier 1, tier 2 cities and all, these people are going to go on raising beds, and they're also looking at acquisitions. What did we tell you about India's cost of healthcare, right? So he says that India's hospital bills, they are accused of going up, but they're not going up. If you look at hospital bills, they're just going 7%, 8% up, which is very natural considering just inflation. And then the modern technology and robotics and everything that hospitals are improving. So India is the cheapest healthcare provider in the world. That's what Mr. Soy said. India is the cheapest healthcare provider in the world, and that's why we get all the medical tourism, right? So sometimes we see our relatives coming from abroad, and they're like, "Desh ki mitti kheech lai," and then you find out that they had a dental treatment to do. And it's cheaper for them to actually come to India, get that dental treatment, go back, visit every place, talk to their friends, have a good trip, and then go back. And still, it's not as expensive as what happens if they got that treatment in their own country, right? So that's gonna continue, and that's why we talked about medical tourism as a great play. And you know what we saw? We saw a lot of investment, 4.5 million getting raised by the travel medical company or whatever, started by the ex-Dynout founders. Moving on, CDSCOs to inspect cough syrup manufacturing units. These corrupt babus, we've talked enough about them, so screw these guys. Moving on. Ferrari lifting the hood on the first EV as it trims the broader plan. So Ferrari is coming out its first EV, 0 to 100 kilometers in 2.5 seconds, top speed of 310 kilometers per hour. That's Ferrari's first electric vehicle. Now, Ferrari was looking at electric vehicles, so they had basically said by 2030 they're gonna have about 50%, 40 to 50% of all vehicles that they sell by 2030 they will be, you know, electric. Now they had given this projection in 2022. Now, what did I tell you about 10-year projections? What did I tell you about 10-year projections? Do you remember what I told you about 10-year projections? Mr. Elliot D'Souza has a comment on LinkedIn. AI in drone tech is increasingly making drones unjammable. These are already in play in Russia, Ukraine. You're right. You're right, Mr. D'Souza. Anyway, so my question was, folks, do you remember? Oh, yeah. So I got the answer. Mr. Sumant Kumar, he says BS. Yeah. So all 10-year projections are bullshit. That's what we say. And look what happened. So Ferrari in 2022 said that by 2030, they're going to have half of their fleet of EVs, right? Half of their revenue coming from EVs, right? Half of their fleet essentially going for EVs. Now they've revised in 2026, 4 years hence, they've revised that number to 20%. Now, why did they revise it to 20%? Because they saw that EVs were sort of plateauing in the developed economies. So EVs are not selling as much in Europe. EVs are not selling as much in China. I mean, they've capped, right, the growth. Everybody was expecting an exponential growth, but that is not happening. The growth has slowed of EVs across the markets in US, in Europe, in China, everywhere, right? And now considering these realities, they've changed their plans and they've revised them to 20%. So now they say that their 20% of their fleet is going to be EV. Is it surprising to any of you? No, because 10-year projections are mostly bullshit, right? By the way, Ferrari has done a revenue of what was the revenue? $7.1 billion. 7.1 billion euros. That's about $8.2 billion last year. $8.2 billion. Quite a lot of money, but not a lot as compared to Tesla, right? Tesla is $22 billion, I guess. That's a lot of money. Moving on. Meta is making an undersea cable project. It's called Waterworth, Vizag and Mumbai, right? It's gonna be a huge project. Meta, Google, they're using SIFI, and a lot of people, they're coming, directly in the way of a lot of telco players as well, because these undersea projects have been their domain. A lot of investments are going, so they're basically going to be this market is right now, it has a huge growth potential, and by 2028 it's going to be $40 billion. So the undersea cables business, that's huge, right? So Google also created a data center there, and with that data center there's a plan of this undersea thing, right? So this undersea cable business is really huge. Tech Giants project aims to connect US, India, Brazil and South Africa. Cable expected to land in 2030. So that's huge. That's pretty big, right? This particular project. Moving on. Jindal Power has bought a 13,500 megawatt Haryana plant from Apraava. That's awesome. Moving on. Vivo remains a going concern. So there are a lot of problems with Vivo, right? The Chinese phone company. Chinese phone companies essentially took a lot of beating lately in Indian market. We've discussed a lot of that, so we won't repeat ourselves, but that's what's going on. Moving on. Government plans to infuse capital in SCI, that is Shipbuilding Corporation of India, right? Shipping Corporation of India, and that's going to be a part of the Maritime Fund. So Maritime Development Fund, you remember, we've talked a lot about this. It was a huge 1 lakh crore fund. So it's going to get some money in the Shipping Corporation of India. Bids floated to procure 4 medium-range product tankers. So we've talked a lot about, we just talked that, what is that industry? Shipbuilding, right, is a very critical industry for India. Shipbuilding is said to be the mother of heavy engineering. And we are a peninsular country. We have a very long coastline. Despite that, we spend around $70 billion a year on foreign ships, right? $70 billion every year on foreign ships. So that's a lot of money that goes out, just like we spend $122 billion in importing crude. We are basically spending over $70 billion on ships, which basically drains our forex, it reduces our GDP, and so on and so forth, right? So what India wants to do is it wants to gather investments to make its own ships, so that some of that goes away, and that's exactly what's happening with the capital infusion in SCI, right? Some numbers. Union Cabinet recently cleared 70,000 crore plan. This included a maritime development fund of 25,000 crore, right? Shipbuilding finance assistant at 24,000 crores, and that is what is funding this particular project. So that's what's going on. This is very good news because shipbuilding will lead to a lot of new jobs. And we talked about where shipbuilding is going to actually help where nobody sees it coming, right? We've talked about that. Do you remember? You remember that, right? A new industry that the shipbuilding thing will create for the country. We've talked about that. Not many people know about that, but we should talk about it more so that more people understand how great that project is. Viewers, can you remind me? We've talked about it, right? Nobody? Come on. No. Manufacturing. Sumant Kumar says manufacturing. No, not manufacturing. Of course, manufacturing is the direct second order effect. But the shipbuilding industry was essentially creating a new industry. Waterways, Mr. Tiwari, thank you. Mr. Tushar Tiwari says inland waterways. So that's government's very ambitious plan of turning Indian rivers into carriers of products and even people, and not just carriers of product and people, but also tourism. So flowing rivers, beautiful rivers, they have cruise, yeah, river, trips and stuff like that. So waterways as an industry doesn't really exist in the country at all. So it's just nothing, right? But in 2014 we started building inland waterways, which was essentially the goal was from Agra we'll send a shoe shipment to Bangladesh. But now Bangladesh has a different political climate, so we're trying to send a package from Agra to Kolkata, and we've already started doing that. But that industry is in very formative years, and it's going to lead to extraordinary growth in times to come, right? Inland waterways. Not many people understand this. Moving on. Toys, textiles, and footwears are basking in the GST glory, post GST glory, which is awesome, which is great, which is not surprising because second order effects. So even though toys, and footwear, like 1,000 rupee footwear, they got a lot of GST benefits, but not above them, right? But even those things are getting sold because once people save money from somewhere, they start spending it elsewhere. So that's what second order effects is all about, right? That's what the ban on gaming, the online betting thing led to. Because once you have like 1 lakh crore in float money, in dead money, in gaming, which is people are gambling, right? Once they can't do that, they essentially start spending that money somewhere else. And that leads to ripple effects. So everything runs on second order effects. Second order effects. If you start thinking in terms of second order effects, you can look into the future. So speaking of looking into the future, Mr. Gadkari has come out again. He says 25 greenfield e-ways covering 10,000 kilometers under construction. 25 green e-ways. So he's talking about his usual thing, right? Ethanol, imports, making automotive industry number one in the next 5 years, right? Reducing imports and so on and so on and so on. So that's what's going on. And we talked about investment opportunities, right? A very big investment opportunities, which we obviously said in the first episode, perhaps one of the first few episodes of Thinker's Frequency. It was ethanol related companies. And I was just looking at those stocks, man, and they've just killed it, right? They've killed it, and they should have, and they would have, right? So we saw that coming. However, we did not name it amongst the industries that have the chance of growing 10x. So there was nuclear, right, which is going to grow 10x. There's GLP related drugs, the weight loss drugs, that's going to grow 10x. 1 lakh people take it right now, 10 lakh people in 2 years. Then Satcom, that's going to grow 10x, right, in 2 years. No doubts about that. But ethanol did that. Why didn't we count it as an investment opportunity, right? Even though we saw that industry and we knew that it's going to happen, why didn't we look at that as an investment opportunity? Folks, why did we not do that? We should have done it, right? We should have. We could have. We should have. But we didn't, right? And we lost on that opportunity because we didn't really look at it. So even though you are predicting, right? So when I was talking to a friend of mine, very special, very smart, so she told me that if you're so good at predicting, right, why don't you make money off it? And that's what we started doing. So that happened in perhaps the 30th or 40th episode, and that's what I started saying as a means that if you are predicting, let's predict in a way that it can actually benefit us if we want. So we're not traders. None of us are traders. We all have busy jobs, whatever we are doing. It's all busy stuff, right? But if we can actually benefit ourselves from the predictions we are making, we should do that, right? Somehow we missed on the ethanol play. We should have talked about it, right? Not to forget later. Moving on. India's trade reliance on US up 6.6%. I don't know why they publish such bullshit reports, but anyway. Moving on. PLI scheme revised to promote MMF products and tech textiles. You know why PLI is getting promoted? PLI, production linked incentive schemes. You know why they are getting promoted for textiles? Can you guess why? There's just one word. And it's plural, used usually plural, in a plural form. One word. Why? Can you give me a reason why? Tariffs, says Mr. Sumant Kumar. You're right. You're right. So Indian textiles are gonna get tariff, right? And tech textiles and MMF products don't really get made here a lot. So that's an industry which can use PLI to spearhead a new kind of product line, right? Coming from India, which is great. So textile as an industry is doing everything it can to mitigate the problems that have arisen. What's the form of it? Problems that have propped up, let's say. Anyway, I'm missing that word, but a lot of problems that have come because of the US tariff. India exports some $10 billion worth of stuff, textiles, to your US, and that's under limbo, right? So, new textiles, MMF products, and man-made fiber and tech textiles is something that we are favoring. That's very good. That's very good. Moving on. As CTV views in audience measurement, BARC is being told by the government. Now, what is BARC? You remember BARC? BARC is the authority which, measures the TRPs. BARC is that authority that measures TRPs. So, how does BARC measure TRPs? Do you know about that, guys? How does BARC measure TRPs? So, BARC has a set of homes, some sample homes, some 140 homes or something, where they have receivers, right? And those receivers collect inaudible signals coming from those homes, from those TV devices. Inaudible. Why inaudible? Because privacy concerns. You don't want to listen to what these people are doing in their bedrooms and so on and so forth. So they have a set of homes where they collect these inaudible signals coming from these houses. Only 141 houses, if I'm data right, and I think I am. And once this data is collated, they give you the TRP of each show and each channel and so on and so on. So that's how BARC works. The problem is that nobody watches linear TV anymore, right? Linear TV has gone out of flavor. What that means is that connected TV is the future, right? Netflix, And in fact, connected TV is the present. So we've talked a lot about TV. We've told you how in 2015 there were 130 or 150 million D2H connections, DTH, direct to home cable TV, 150 million. In 2025, it's down to some 100 million, right? And in 2030, it's going to be 75 million. So in the last 15 years, I mean, in 15 years, the entire industry is going to be half of what it was. Half, right? So that's what's going on with the linear TV. But what that means is that Bark's TRP doesn't make any sense, right? What's the point of TRP when nobody's watching linear TV, when everybody's watching connected TV, and Bark doesn't do connected TV? So what's the point? So Bark is coming, if it's renewal time. The agency, it has a 10-year period. So after that, it gets renewed. Now, as it gets renewed, it's being asked to collect data on connected TV. That was OTT plus cable and so on and so forth. Now, we don't know how they're going to do that. What's the technology switch that they're going to flip, right, to be able to do that? But that's the future. So linear TV, dying. A lot of things happening in linear TV. This is one of them. So 600 plus TV channels, did no digital data yet. So that's problematic. Moving on. We've talked a lot about the markets. Silver ETF rush takes market by surprise. That's okay. It should have taken everybody by a surprise, but not us, right? Because we talked a lot about this. So we've been very, very pro these things, very predictive. US stock markets retreat. Dollar hits 8-month high against yen. We've talked about that. Moving on. SEBI plans to incentivize long end trading to deepen derivatives market. So the derivative market is looking at sub depth, which has been, so derivatives markets got hurt. You know why? We've talked a lot about that. Viewers of Thinkers Frequency would remember why the derivatives market got hurt. Because, we banned Jane Street and so on and so forth. The whole algorithm, high HFT thing, we put a lid on that. As soon as those people went out, we saw the derivatives market essentially, suddenly the volume went down, right? A lot of things happened. So that led SEBI to essentially take a look at how to reform the market in a way that it has actual real depth, right? So product stability framework for that is going to happen. You remember what happened to Nifty Thursdays changed to Tuesday and so on and so forth, right? So a lot of action is going on in that front to strengthen the derivatives market. Moving on. A lot of action happening as far as the Israel. Somebody asked me that question, I think. Mr. Sumant Kumar, do you think Israel-Gaza peace deal impacts gold rally? So Israel-Palestine, this thing is looking like it's happening. Israel, Hamas have reached ceasefire hostage agreement, right? Israel has stopped pounding Palestine, and but nobody knows about the disarmament part of it, right? That's the most important part, the disarmament. Nobody knows how that's going to pan out, but it looks like. And when that happens, gold might be looking at some rest, but not really, because it's just one part of the problem, right? There's also Russia and Ukraine. Then there's global financial problems that we are facing, right? The whole de-dollarization attempts, US debt hitting all highs, right? US has a severe debt deficit problem. So a lot of problems in that direction are very complicated. So gold rally might slow down, but gold won't retreat is my prediction, at least in the near future. Gold will only retreat after the crash has happened, and after the crash, when things have stabilized a little, that's when gold will start actually falling down. That's exactly what happened in previous eras as well. Not doing any analogy thinking, but that makes sense, right? People, when will they be looking at the economy again, right? The formal economy, the financial system, when it's fallen down and when it looks stable, and when you see it going down and it can grow up, right? So when is the best time to invest in a market? After it has fallen down, right? So people who invested in Greece after it went bankrupt, it went down, they made a lot of money. They're making a lot of money by investing in an emerging market like Greece, right? Now that's exactly, it works in gold as well. So if the formal economy has gone down and now it's coming up, right? That's when people will start liquidating their gold holdings and starting to invest in formal, the fiat based economy, and that's when the gold essentially comes down. So moving on, SoftBank's Graphcore is lining up $1.3 billion in the India semiconductor investment play, India chip investment. That's awesome, right? So Graphcore has something called IPU, intelligent processing unit. They say they work better than GPUs in some extent, and that's amazing. That's what's happening. Mr. Rakesh Kumar, the founder of MapMy India, says that Mapples must be in all PLI smartphones. So smartphones have PLI, production linked incentive schemes. The government is promoting Swadeshi. Well, we are Swadeshi. Google Maps is number one. We are number two. They should promote us. So if they promote us, it's going to be very, very good for everybody, says Mr. Rakesh Kumar. So Maple is their competitor to Google Maps. MapMy India is a great company. Mr. Rakesh Kumar is a legend. He's been very kind to me as well. So he's been a mentor to me, which is great. Moving on. Dassault is eyeing $1 billion in revenue in India. Dassault, the French defense company. It also makes design equipment, design software like CATIA, SolidWorks, and so on and so forth. They are also created by Dassault, the French company. Now they make planes, of course. Rafale is the plane which India bought from Dassault. So they are looking at $1 billion. Headcount boost. Moving on. Diamonds are looking at as the semiconductor's best friend. So diamonds are being looked at for semiconductors chip life enhancement. How? Because diamonds are hardest materials, of course. They're also the highest conduction materials in the world. Most people do not realize that diamond has the best heat conduction properties of any material, right? So high thermal conductivity of diamond, it helps semiconductors essentially. That stops the leak of energy. Half of all energy is wasted as leakage currently at the transistor level, and diamonds can help that. Properties of diamond offer a potential solution to electricity wastage in chips. So artificial diamonds gonna go towards semiconductors. Artificial diamonds ruined Surat, right? Because Surat makes 90% of all world's diamonds, the real diamonds. But as the artificial diamond play came in, it started hammering the industry. It became very difficult, and then tariffs came, which screwed the industry even further. But some of that's gonna be good because those artificial diamonds are gonna go towards semiconductor. And if semiconductor absorbs a lot of artificial diamond supply, it could be good news for the actual diamonds, for the real diamonds, right? Second order effects, folks. Second order effects make everything worth it, right? China blacklist researcher that exposed Huawei's chip secrets. Well, China is China. Moving on. Flipkart is offloading some non-core units to go IPO. Flipkart is going to be a $38 billion, $40 billion company. Its IPO is going to be historic, right? Hopefully. And right now it's paring its assets to focus on core because it needs to. Because e-commerce lunch is getting eaten by quick commerce. Quick commerce is ruining e-commerce every day. And it got to save itself. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of the 137th episode of Thinker's Frequency. Our daily mental workout, our daily dose of insights and analysis, which don't lead to paralysis right before we punch in. It's 9:04. We can punch in anytime soon. I wish you a beautiful day personally and professionally. I hope you had fun. I hope it added value to you. It added value to me, of course. It was a lot of fun. Though, my only concern is that we are not growing. We are the same number of people, 5 people, 6 people on LinkedIn, 8 people on YouTube. And that was the case when we first started, like 137 days ago. So we're not growing, and it is work. It takes a lot of energy, right? I have to wake up at 5:30, prepare, right? Read everything, then deliver this. And if it doesn't grow, it takes the shine away a bit, right? And I'm not looking to be a YouTuber or anything. I don't have time for all that. I'm not an influencer. But effort should lead to growth. And that's not happening. So that's my concern. I hope we are able to do that. We are able to solve for that. But for now, it's a lot of fun and it's great. So let me thank Mr. Sumant Kumar, Mr. Tushar Tiwari, Mr. Josh Solanki, Mr. Elliot D'Souza, and everybody else who joined. I had a lot of fun. If you have a few questions, we could take them. It's 9:05. We still have a few minutes to go. If not, we will take our leave. Let me take another sip till then. Perhaps a last sip. Any questions, folks? Seems like we don't have any questions. So I will take off. Have a beautiful day, folks. I wish you a beautiful day, personally and professionally. I'll see you tomorrow, same place, same time, hopefully. Bye-bye. Take care. How can we promote the show to reach more people? Asks Mr. Sumant Kumar. How can we promote the show to reach more people? Well, I mean, you can call it in, If you get my WhatsApp message, the WhatsApp message, who can get benefited? Any people use our show for MBA preparation, some exams preparation. A lot of people use it for different purposes. So when I share that WhatsApp link of the live thing, you can share it along, right? If you get it. So you can share it while it's going on. So if you share it on your WhatsApp status, maybe some people join in, right? If we have 6 people, if 6 people get picked in more, this needs to grow, man, because 137 days is a good time to see whether something is happening or not, right? So it's a good routine. The beauty is that routine is the reward. So the routine of waking up at 5:30, preparing for getting ready by 6:30, reading for 1.5 hours, and then delivering this session, it's a great routine. So it's 2.5 hours of effort, right? 1 hour in delivery, 1.5 hours in reading. But no matter how great that routine is, what I can do, right? What I can do is stop doing the show and I'll still be reading for 1.5 hours. So I'll save 1 hour every day, which means a lot, right? My 1 hour has a lot of value. So if I do that, I'll be still reading. I'll be, doing whatever I can do. I can add that 1 hour to more reading, right? And that will benefit me, but not anybody else, right? So this needs to grow in order for this to actually make sense. But otherwise, it's so much fun. It's awesome. Everybody loves it. Whoever watches it, Mr. Sumant Kumar, Mr. Tiwari, everybody gains a lot. But something needs to happen in this direction, and quickly. So please think about it, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care, folks. Bye-bye. Quick episode today.